Hey Gear Seekers, I'm Nick. This is possibly the most unassuming PC that I own. And you're probably wondering, why are you standing in the kitchen? Well, ladies and gents, I got something very special cooking up with this thing. So, you may or may not know that this here turns out to be the main editing PC for Gear Seekers and kernel control, and basically everything that I do gets edited on this PC. And look at it, look at this case, right? It's just nothing, right? It doesn't look like there's anything in it. However, if we quickly just, let me just give them a little taste. It's very dirty. This thing is a workhorse, right? So it's not, yeah. We'll talk about the specs. In fact, some of the hardware is out of my custom water-cooled editing PC, which is on hiatus at the moment because you guys remember how I had that Threadripper Pro stuff? Well, that's coming soon. There's a very special system coming in that case, but this is the workhorse, right? The Radley workhorse. So what I decided to do today, see, there's just stuff laying around in it. I just don't care, like it just gets the job done, right? So the story goes, I swapped the motherboard out in this the other day because I found that I needed a capture card for the kernel control stuff doing screen capture. So I've got two computers plugged in and whatnot. And the board I had in here before, which is an ASRock board, didn't have 10 gig Ethernet. This MSI one did. So I swapped the motherboard out. I put a 32 core in here as well. And I realized the AIO just isn't cutting it. Now there's nothing wrong with AIO cooling Threadripper CPUs. The problem here really lies in the fact that the AIO I've got doesn't cover the whole IHS. So I hatched the plan. You guys already know where this one's going. You've probably seen the video title, whatever. I don't know how this video is gonna work, but custom water cooling it, but not in the traditional sense, not like a crazy hardline loop, just a really simple CPU only loop. So yeah, some of the parts. Velocity TR4 block. I can only fit a slim rad in the top of this case, and I didn't want to do dual rads in it, so I'm just going to do a 360 slim up the top because the AIO is basically the same size as this, so I know it's going to fit, and I test fitted. And this.
Oh, hey, settle down, sweetheart. How was that for a swing straight at me?
And some of this tube. Yeah, just regular black soft line tube because it's nothing special. And this pump and res combo that I've had for like 4 million years. I cleaned everything out, that's why it's all wet looking. So ready to go. Well, what we're gonna do today obviously is you're gonna hang out with me, nothing really special. Wasn't even gonna make this into a video, but I figured, you know what? I might as well share like what I'm doing with my main editing PC with you guys because it's water cooling and I don't know, you might like it. Let's water cool it. First things first, we're gonna pull some stuff out. That sounded so rude. Gotta pull some stuff out. Well, we're going to be reversing some of it. It needs a bit of cleaning. I've got a couple of these laying around inside the system because, yeah. Yep, that's the answer, yep. What I'm gonna do is pull all the cards out. So we've got room, and then I'm gonna clean it up a bit because it's full of dust. But first thing, we'll start off with the storage card. I've talked about this before, but this storage card has all of my main like Windows install and everything I need to get up and running editing really quickly. So without me having M.2s on a motherboard and you know, just having that whole mess, I prefer to just have everything on the card. I can plug it into another machine, turn on bifurcation and have everything ready to go straight away. And yeah, so this is my like, hey, I'm in a pickle, I need to switch PCs really quickly. That's what this card's for. Next card in here is, this is an AVerMedia 4K capture card. This is how I do screen capture for kernel control and for newer videos that are coming. Last week I had a really weird setup with our capture box. So our capture box has a couple of these in it, and I figured, hey, if I'm only gonna be like capturing one input or whatnot, let's just use this out of the capture box and it can live in here. This is also why I swapped to this MSI board, more PCIe slots. And lastly, the BFG, the 3090 Founders Edition from NVIDIA. All of this whole PC is so messy inside. I'm gonna have to give it a bit of a clean, Probably won't do that with you guys on camera because, you know, I'll leave that to Brian and Greg. They can do the cleaning videos. But let's just get this hardware out and then pull the RAM out to be safe as well, just in case anything goes horribly wrong, which it shouldn't. Let's just cross our fingers and hope for the best. But we should be okay. All right, that's 128 gigs of Thermaltake RAM. Pretty good stuff. You might be asking yourself as well, why this case of all cases? Why are you using the NR600P or whatever? Because I don't want to look in it. I don't care about how it looks inside. It just needs to work and work efficiently. But since I swapped the CPU out with this AIO and yeah, just how it goes, it's running a bit too warm for my liking. So yeah, let's give the whole CPU some coverage. So this is a bit ridiculous, but I need to now, I'm doing this video just to show you guys like stuff that I'll do on the channel without filming. Now, this was really clean until the other day when I pulled it all apart and put this motherboard in, but we need to pull the top off because the fans, and they're set up in exhaust straight out the top like that. And to get the AIO out is a funny one. There's only 4 screws holding it in because, as I keep saying, I'm not that fussy. As long as it works, I'm happy. But to get the AIO out is, you'll see, it's a bit tricky, but we can do it. And the other reason why I want to keep this case as well is if I have a SATA SSD, I can just slot it in the front and grab stuff off it if I need to, or a SATA hard drive, and I don't need to like have any cables running. I don't need to keep any of those drives in the PC at all. So this case is actually pretty good because for workstation use, it's really good. However, for this build, we're going to have to sacrifice one of these. So this top one's got to come out. It can't live in there anymore. As long as I've got one, I don't need both. This one's got to come out anyway to pull out the AIO. Right, it's such a weird and obscure case to do a build like this in, but you know, you've got to do what you got to do. As you can tell, I've pulled this system apart, well, in this case many times, so I know what I need to do here to make this work. Rightio, I want to just put that long fan cable, but the cable itself is quite short. I'm gonna just give these a bit of a clean and stuff. I'm gonna clean out all the dust in here. It is very, very filthy. I have the fan screwed into the case, and then I have these 4 screws on each end of the AIO to attach the radiator itself. I'm gonna replace these. All right, we'll get, and that's how you break an AIO nut. And now we pull off this block that I literally just put on here like 2 days ago. I wasted so much thermal paste because, you know, Threadripper needs all of the thermal paste on Earth. We're gonna be obviously reapplying it, but what a revelation this was after working with this the other day. This might be a bit tricky because a lot of surface area. Should have warmed it up first, would have made this easier. Like a car when you're doing an oil change, but we'll just reef it off. Ooh. And we're gonna clean all that up now. And that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna clean all this up and then we're gonna start installing all the water cooling gear. For these massive CPUs, I like to use these Nock Tool wipes. They're just cleaning wipes. They've got isopropyl in them, but the surface area of them is just quite big, so you can just clean them up. Not sponsored, just saying that they're really handy because I have a bunch of these and I use them quite a bit, but very, very easy to use to clean off these huge Threadripper IHSs. The thing is, these Nock Tool wet wipes leave quite a bit of residue, so we'll just give that a clean. And you guys, if you're new here, you might not know, but my other secret trick is makeup pads. So I just use those to clean up all the residue so we get all those last little bits of thermal paste out around the corners. I'm not going to bother to pull the CPU out. There's no real need to do that. Gave this system a wee bit of a clean. Now it's time to mount the radiator. This one should go in without a hitch. Basically, it's the same size as an AIO rad, but it's not an AIO, so we'll just cross our fingers and hope that I didn't do this all in vain, because that would be quite annoying, wouldn't it? That was easy, very, very easy. So now our radiator's mounted, and the next thing we're gonna do, water block. Let's do that. There's a couple ways to do thermal paste for Threadripper, but this is the way I would recommend doing it. And this is the way that usually gives me the best thermal performance. You do 9 big dots. I'm probably going to go through a whole tube of thermal paste because Threadripper, right, big ones. And I've showed this before with coverage already and in other videos with Threadripper, so you can see how good this technique works. And then we're just going to lower the block on. So I rebuilt this block a little bit earlier today as well. Just had a bit of gunk in it from the last Threadripper build I did. And, well, with this block anyway, we're just gonna, always opposing corners. Really, this is really a very easy water block solution. You can tighten these until they stop. It gives the perfect mounting pressure for the whole socket. Sweet, and that's it. I came up with a bit of a creative solution for the pump res combo. I used one of the hard drive sled mounting brackets to wedge this under, and then I gave it a bit of a tap and it's held into place. It's not really going to go anywhere. And all I'm going to do now is put a zip tie from underneath the case around this bar here, and it should hold this in and it's not going to be going anywhere. So a really ghetto solution, but turns out sometimes that's the way to do it in a case that is ultimately not designed for water cooling. And yeah, that's mounted nicely. A little bit of a wiggle is normal, don't worry. That's in there nicely. Give that one a bit of a snip, we should be good to go. It's plumbing time. We're gonna cut all the pipes with you here. Okay, so these are the runs I'm going for. I'm going here, and the reason why this one's got to be like this is the GPU is quite large. It's got a slot in like that, and then it's coming down from the rad to return, and then this one is going underneath here up to the rad. And the reason why I put extensions on here is so it clears the RAM. We're gonna be able to pull RAM in and out of this system if I need be. This one will actually probably go more like that, but yeah, that's it. It's really straightforward. So let's just do a couple markings, get all of our tube runs. So the great thing about using soft tube is you don't have to be perfect, right? Got to massage these on over the barbs. All right, and then here. Close enough. That one will go up there. It's all right if there's a couple little kinks in the pipe, that's no problem. And then the last run is from here to here. Maybe we'll do it just in case we need to go 90. Actually, let's go 90. Nah, let's not put too much stress on that. Although it doesn't really matter too much. Let's go about there. That's it. And then this one can go in like that. Really a simple loop. It's not too complicated. Everything will slot back in and we should be good. Alrighty, it's time for a pressure test. Let's see what happens. We'll pump her up. We've got to pump it up to about 0.3-ish bar and we'll lock it off. All right, we pressure tested fine, so yeah, it's filling time, let's do it. No fancy B-roll, nothing for this video. We're just gonna fill it up and see what happens. This is some clear cryofuel that I mixed. I had some concentrate left over from something else, so yep, let's see what's going on here. We'll just fill it up. I could have free poured that then. I could have just left that going. But this loop should be pretty easy to fill. It's not super complicated. There's not that much coolant that goes into this one. Oh, okay. A hate when I do that. I just flick coolant everywhere and it just... Stupid. Should be almost full now. Hey, that's full. Nice. We'll just let that bleed out some bubbles and we should be good. All right, it's finally time to put all the hardware back and let's hope everything fits. This is gonna be pretty snug, to be honest. There we go. Alrighty. GPU in. I put the PC down back under the desk where it lives and whatnot, whatever, and I started editing the video that you're currently watching, and I just wanted to keep an eye on the temperatures and whatnot. I don't have any monitoring software really installed in here because it's a workstation. I don't really keep an eye on that stuff too much. However, I have Creator Center installed because I was tuning the fan curves and windows and whatnot, and I just wanted to share this with you. Anywhere between 49 to 60 degrees while editing. The fan speed is around 48, 49%. That being around 780 to 800 RPM on the radiator fans. These fans are very, very quiet and pretty efficient. And the pump's running at about 4,700 RPM. So the system is completely silent. In fact, it's quieter than the quick disconnect system we've got as well. That's currently got the Threadripper Pro stuff in it that I've been testing off the channel because we're just I'm just running some numbers and stuff on the Threadripper Pro system in that system with the quick disconnect stuff that I custom built at the start of the year, well, the end of last year and the start of this year. So yeah, I just wanted to share this with you. Now, I did run into a few problems with this that I didn't talk about because I was not so much running out of time as I wanted to get the edit done as quickly as possible. And oftentimes when I film these kind of builds, I'll leave bits out because I get frustrated because I didn't hit record and I was just like, oh, f it. I'm just gonna keep like getting this thing to work or whatever. So what happened was when I leak tested the system, there was a very, very slow leak. Now it was nothing to do with the loop at all. It was just one of the 90-degree fittings that the EK fitting interfered with the bits per 90-degree fitting. I changed it out for a different 90-degree. Leak tested fine, it was all good, so I didn't have to worry about it. That took me about 15 minutes to kind of diagnose, and I was like, okay, system's all good. Was bleeding the air bubbles out of the system and whatnot, and then I found that there was a whole bunch of debris in the CPU block. It was so disheartening. I just spent so much time putting it together. I'd originally partitioned about 2.5 hours to put this thing together because I have other things to edit and other stuff to work on. I mean, it never goes to plan. It took about 5 hours because of just other stuff coming up and having to change out a few things. But the main thing that happened was, so frustrating. Did the initial fill after cleaning everything. It was so frustrating. There was just debris inside the CPU water block. So off camera, I emptied out the loop again, completely drained it. Really easy to drain. I didn't need to put a drain on it. You just undo one of the bottom fittings and have a little Tupperware container, it all empties out anyway. Did all that stuff. Then I pulled apart the CPU block again and cleaned out all the debris and got a little toothbrush and scrubbed out the jet plate and scrubbed out the micro fins and all that. So yeah, these things happen sometimes. I mean, there's nothing I can do about it, but you know, that's one of the bonuses of using a clear CPU block is if there's anything happening with it, you can just take a bit of a peep in and have a look. I never have any debris in any builds really. So I was like, oh, I can't believe I have to do this right now. I just want to get this video done. It was a complete nightmare. But anyway, all sorted, all that jazz. Anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this video. If you like the music you heard here, I make all the music. I'm sure there's probably music from when the microphone died at some point in the video. And if you want to get early access to videos like this one, head on over to Floatplane What are the other things that I say in videos? I don't really remember. Anyways, guys, yeah, I'm your boy Nick with Gear Seekers. You peek. We seek. Oh, I'll put a PC part picker list down below if you're interested. Maybe not. It's a bit of a mishmash of all types of parts and whatnot. But the main reason why this change happened was the ASRock board didn't have 10 gig Ethernet. I've been using it for ages. I had a 10 gig add-in card for it. I needed to have an extra PCIe slot for the capture card for kernel control because I found it to be easier to capture and edit on the same machine at the same time, whatever. And the ASRock board, I couldn't do it, didn't have 4 PCIe slots for the add-in network card. So I'm like, hey, I need a board with 10 gig built in, so I don't need to have an add-in card. So then I did that. I had a board with 10 gig Ethernet that gave me problems ages ago, updated the BIOS, board's running perfectly now, all that jazz. And then I needed 3 PCIe slots, 2 by 16 slots, 1 at least by 4 slot. And that's why I did all of this. So yeah, I'm done. I'm out here. Thanks for watching. Time to finish this video now. Otherwise it's just never gonna get done. Thanks for watching.